What's happening, everybody? Off the Mike Sports Network here, another edition of Off the Top Rope. So, Raw happened amidst a bunch of craziness. You got two Monday Night Football games. You got Game 7 in the American League Championship Series. And meanwhile, Monday Night Raw has a show in Sacramento. And we had a development in the situation surrounding the World Heavyweight Championship. Seth Rollins is no longer the World Heavyweight Champion. He has been stripped of that title. We did not get an official confirmation on what the injury is, but it was a shoulder. Everything that had been reported, this was not a ruse. This was a quick pivot because he really got hurt in that match. I like the way that they wrote themselves out of it, and that Paul Heyman basically, kind of threw Seth out to pasture and basically was like, I only did that out of necessity. Like, it was really about Braun Breaker and Bronson Reed. This wasn't really about Seth Rollins. So they made it make as much sense as they could. And, I like what they're kind of doing in the slow build to get to Braun Breaker being the next guy, because clearly the timeline of everything that they wanted to do with the vision has now been, amped up a little bit. It has been expedited a little bit because I think clearly they wanted this to go longer. They wanted this to go past WrestleMania the next year and then potentially lead to Braun Breaker further down the line. Now it looks like that's going to be much sooner. But Braun Breaker's, I thought the slam dunk here was to just, strap a rocket to Braun Breaker right away. They did a battle royal. So basically how they're determining this is CM Punk is already going to be in a match at Saturday night's main event in Salt Lake City. I think it's November 1st. So I think that's a week from Saturday in Salt Lake City, Utah. So CM Punk is going to face a winner of a battle royal, and Braun Breaker and Bronson Reed were pulled out of this. Really, like more of like a disrespect thing to Adam Pearce. And it was nice to see Adam Pearce show some authority here. So listen, I get it. Like, they didn't want to just go quickly to Braun Breaker and they just didn't want to give it to him. They wanted to build to it a little bit more, which, is fine. But I think, it would have been a much easier way. And I think it might have made things a lot more interesting if Braun Breaker was just the world champion out of this. But, they're not going to do that. They're going to take the safe route. They're going to take the conventional route and, have a babyface win. And the interesting thing about this is at the end of this battle royal, Jey Uso eliminates LA Knight and his brother Jimmy before eliminating Dominic Mysterio, who had been, I think it was Dominic who he eliminated last. To ultimately, Dominic had been eliminated, then came back, and he's basically becoming Eddie Guerrero, which is fucking great. But Dom being the Intercontinental Champion, it was like it didn't make a lot of sense. But they go with Jey Uso. Jey Uso is going to face CM Punk for the vacant World Heavyweight Championship at Saturday night's main event. God bless Jey Uso. I think it's a cool story that he's gotten himself over. He's gotten the yeet over. Crowds are energized seeing him. He's got a lot of energy. It's very cool. The Jey Uso experiment has expired. I've said it for months. I got nothing against Jey as a human being. I think Jey is a delightful man. I think the whole yeet thing and the whole yeet train and that thing was fun for a while. This isn't a main event situation. And they're basically turning him into mini Roman in his quest for gold because he won the World Heavyweight Championship at WrestleMania in a really bananas, just really stupid decision to have him tap out Gunther. And we've had him roaming around the World Heavyweight title picture really since the Royal Rumble for most of this year. Like, think about this if you would have told yourselves this 5 years ago. Jey Uso is going to be a regular fixture in the World Heavyweight title picture. Jey Uso is facing CM Punk. Now, there's a lot of options that are on the table. It's a very unpredictable idea. I think CM Punk should win the World Championship and just go from there, because I think the end goal was potentially for him to beat Seth Rollins at some point, but who's to say what that is now? And I think, CM Punk with, the heat with Heyman makes a lot of sense, potentially to go with Breaker. Brock Lesnar could be involved. There's a lot of ways that they could potentially go at Saturday night's main event. The other way that they could go with this is having Jey Uso win this and Roman Reigns be backing him as well. And that could create a scenario that would be interesting. I'm just here to tell you guys, I'm over Jey Uso being in the main event. I've been over it for a while. It's been very clear that he is not up to the task. There's a reason this guy was a tag team guy for a decade. And my frustration is, like, I've always been kind of an LA Knight guy. What is LA Knight doing that Jey Uso isn't doing? Got a catchphrase over, got the crowd in the palm of his hand. What is LA Knight doing that's different from Jey Uso? So that's my other frustration. And then the fact that Jey Uso has consistently shown for the last 10 months or 8, 9, 10 months that he is just not a main event level performer. He's not. And they're presenting him in scenes with Roman Reigns. Like, I love Jey Uso and I love the Usos as a tag team. But to go to this well again with Jey Uso challenging for the World Heavyweight Championship after I thought we were done with this, like, it's just, I don't get. And I think some of this has to go back to TKO and their compulsive need to, like, please the fans in the building, and the visual and the viral moments with, the eating and everything. But it's just like, I don't get what really, like I said, from a storyline perspective, you can kind of set the stage that they both have something lined up with Paul Heyman. But to me, LA Knight, like, his fan base that has been really loyal, he could have potentially deserved a spot in there because, I mean, hey, he owns a win over Seth Rollins and, never really got a fair shake at the World Championship one-on-one. So, like, it's just like, I don't like how they handled this. This is very safe. This was very basic. I understand he's probably the most over guy on your roster, but there's also a legions of people who are just over this whole Jey Uso experiment. And like I said, I've got nothing against him personally, but I think it's gotten to a point of overexposure. Like the heat and all of the, all the viral moments and the lights and everything, it's gotten to really and now creating this whole tensious thing with his brother. It's like, what, the Raw tag team division. By the way, AJ Styles and Dragon Lee won the championships on this show, which cool for them. The tag team division on Raw could really use the Usos. They really could. But we're not doing that. So listen, it's just, I think there were better ways to handle this. I get why Braun Breaker was not involved in this. I get why they're playing the long game. I would honestly pencil Braun Breaker in. If they're going to play the long game here, I would pencil him potentially in as a winner of the Royal Rumble next year. And whether it's CM Punk, whether it's Jey Uso, whoever's holding the world title, Braun Breaker, they usually don't go with heel Rumble winners, but this would be a good opportunity to do that and crown a Braun Breaker at WrestleMania. I think that if you're going to expedite the storyline, that feels like the way that they're going to do it. Because to me, that's the only reason why you don't do that now, is because you want to give him his spot at WrestleMania. And who knows, maybe they won't do that. Maybe they'll do Braun Breaker and Brock Lesnar at WrestleMania next year, or do it at a big PLE. But man, like I said, I've really grown tired of this whole Jey Uso experiment of him being a top guy. He's a talented guy. He's very entertaining. Doesn't mean he's a main event. And just because he has main event in his title doesn't mean that he's a main event. Jey Uso is not a world champion. He was the world champion. There was a reason why they didn't do it for very long. And even if he wins it, we know it's a transitional reign. So they just went safe and they didn't take a risk here. That's my problem, is they went to a guy who I understand is over and is going to please some of the fan base, but also at the same time, you've seen already this year that he can't hold a candle as a main event level superstar. Like, it's just not working. And he should be with his brother. He should be fighting for the tag team titles, because the Usos are a great tag team. And the fact that we haven't had the Usos as a tag team for basically on regular tag team matches that have actually mattered for, like, the tag team titles, we haven't done that in, like, what, 2-3 years? Really? Since they lost 2 years since they lost the titles at WrestleMania? Like, just frustrating, man. It really is frustrating to see that decision making, because I think they genuinely could have done something really interesting out of this, and they played it safe. They played it pretty basic. I understand that their time was crunched. They basically have a little less than 2 weeks to get to Saturday night's main event. But listen. I hope that CM Punk wins the title, because at least at that point, even if you don't really care about Punk, I just don't think a Jey Uso title run is going to really inject life into the show when we already know what the end goal is to get to break. Or at least with CM Punk can, kind of, be carry himself. And I understand he's older, can carry himself as a top guy. So I just don't think Jey Uso belongs. Sorry to you bloodline tribalist fans. Like, I just don't think that this makes any sense. Anyway, thanks so much for watching. I'll see you guys soon. Bye-bye.